we could pull this up. So I seen this online, and weird thing is that I noticed that the Moors are now pushing more and more that Moor means mother. And it's like it's moving away from some of these other things. But here's the problem when they say it means mother. What was all that blackamoor? You know what I'm saying? And all that stuff about the Moors, you know, in Spain and in Europe, if it means mother, you know. Although, I was thinking about this, right? I remember there was an argument a woman had with another Moor about the word Moorish and how Noble Drew Ali didn't use it, so they didn't want to use it, or she didn't feel good using it. And she made the best argument that I've heard them point out. And she said that ish means man. And at the time, I didn't understand what she was saying. You know, she was like, Moorish means man. And she's like, I'm not a Moorish, I'm a Moor. And the guys just went, you know, that she was talking to, debating, went on back and forth. I can't find the video, but I'm going to try. And I started thinking about that, right? It's almost like they do that with everything else that they've stolen a title. And I'm not talking about the Moors here, but anyone else has stolen a title, right? There's Jews, right, and there's Jewish. And I know there's no J, but just you know, you see what I'm getting at. There's Jew and there's Jewish. There's the Ireland and the Irish people, and there's Irish. The Britons, and there's British. And you know something? I started thinking about this, right? Lex pointed this out with the whole land and how the land in the birth certificate, and how they use the woman to take everything and put it into maritime law, right? They use it with the birth certificate, and the woman's the informant, right? I started thinking about Native Americans. Don't they do the same thing the Jews do? To prove that you're a Native American, you have to prove your mother's bloodline going back so many generations. And they don't go by the, you know, they don't go by the DNA, right? They were going by your genealogy for the longest time. I mean, now they can request the DNA, but they were going by the genealogy. Who was this mother recognized as a Jew, this mother recognized as a Jew, this mother recognized as a Native American, this one recognized as a Native American. See what I'm saying? So I see that, and I'm like, that's interesting. That she pointed that out, and I went right over that guy's head. It went right over my head. Because I was thinking ish at the time was in my mind. I'm like, ish means to be like. I never thought that for them to pretend to be Jews, for them to pretend to be the British, for them to pretend to be the Irish, they had to pretend to be that way, and they had to claim to be the ish, while their mother could say that she was. See what I'm saying? I thought that it was just a different way to look at it. But here, watch this though. So that movie I tried posting that the audio was all messed up on. I was trying to point out spots in the last two movies I had watched that I thought were interesting. They kept calling that one woman in the beginning that Gwen Mother. That Gwen Mother. But I thought it was interesting. They were calling her that, but they also were calling her Moor. And I was like, wait a minute, what does Moor mean in Persian? And I know that movie was supposed to be about India, but still, you know, Persia and India, they're sitting, one sits right above the other. So I was like, we're close enough to each other, right? So I'm like, I wonder what that means. Because I've been going through the book, The Anaclipsic, and man, I never realized how much the Persians had Abraham's teachings and writings. I guess in my mind, I always thought about the Persians just being the enemy, and then I always thought of them as just, you know, the people that claim to be the Persians today. I never really thought about how the relationship, you know, to Israel, to the Hebrews, through Abraham, their father, right? So check this out, though. So I've been looking a lot of stuff up in Persian. I've been trying to find some of the stuff that Godfrey Higgins had found. But I had found this, and I thought, whoa, right underneath my nose, this was going on.
Moor, Pashto, Urdu, meaning mother, is a 2015 Pakistani drama film directed, written by Jamie and co-produced by Nazira Ali, Nadeem Mandviwala and Jamie under the production banner of Azad Film Company and Mandviwala Entertainment. The film stars Hamid Sheikh III in lead along with Samaya Mumtaz, Shaz Khan, Nayara Jazz, Ayaz Samu and Abdul Qadir in lead roles. The film's title, Moor, is a Pashto word meaning mother. Moor was previously named as Morkea Monsahiba. 4, 5, 6, 7 film's story depicts the railway system of Baluchistan, especially the closure of Zab Valley Railways in 1984. Besides that, the movie shows how families are run by the women. According to the director of the movie, the film depicts living through the problems faced by Pakistan. 8.
There we go. There it is. Oh, no, don't do that. Don't do that. They said it's a for them it's a Pashta word meaning mother, more. And that's how they spell it. Morqaye or MAA. How's it? MAAN. Let's see here. Just one last time. I'm not trying to wear you out.
Moor was previously named as Morkea Monsahiba.
So yeah, right underneath our nose, right underneath my nose, there was someone else is using it, and but once again, it seems like we're just censored to only hear what what they want us to hear, and I didn't even know to even think about looking it up over there. It's just like I said, I've been in that book, The Anaclipse, because that book, man, it's loaded, and I take it on as a personal thing for me, because the more I read it, the more I realize it's a textbook, right? So I can't just take it all to you guys and say, oh, this is gospel, but there's stuff in there like they talk about the whole relationship between the Mother Mary and the child on her knee there in the statue in Italy. This is Godfrey Higgins talking about, right? And he's talking about how the Buddhists were black just like them, right? Just like that. That's those statues. And he talks about and how he knows that they were black because that is. And I know, I always try to, because I always try to rationalize in my mind when you're looking at those statues and they're the Black Madonna and the Christ Child and stuff like that. You look at that and you're like, come on, how do I, definitively point this out that they're worshiping that to people? You debate in your own mind because you want to already have the answers. You don't have the questions. You want to have the answers. And Godfrey Higgins pointed something out that I never paid attention to. He said if those black stones statues were just meant to represent the black stone that they carved them out of, then why would they paint the eyeballs white and put black pupils in them? I was like, man, I never even thought about that. So they are trying to stick to a direct image. And he points out, and like I said, Anacliptic Volume 1 and 2, they're textbooks, but he points out something that blew my mind. It blew my mind open. He points out that the Asiatics, that the Buddhists, that they would have known this. The number 666 is a time frame between years that the spirit from the stars pour out unto male children born during this time. He gives the example of the Romans. Now I'm trying to find it so I can bring it to you. I want to read it from Wikipedia or whatever, however I can find it. He says there was a time where the Romans, he gives them as an example, they would kill all of their citizens, firstborn male children, or just male children, I'm sorry, not firstborn, they're male children, but only let the ones in the royal homes live during this time frame, in hopes that the spirit of whatever deity, whatever God, when it pours into their child, and one of their children would have that God spirit in them. Just like it reminded me of like what's that thing called, the presidential inauguration, the spirit of Apollo, the spirit of Osiris, the spirit of Lucifer being poured into the president, right? There was a movie I was watching. It was made in Greece, and it was about these two kingdoms that were clashing. And on the beginning of the movie starts out with this woman. She's supposed to give birth. A queen was supposed to give birth, and it was under a certain star for her husband, this king. But as the king in the beginning of this movie, he's being killed. He tells this queen to go back to her land, take the people back there. He'd rather see them go there than to become slaves to his enemy. She's pregnant. She's giving birth during this, right? And the priest then switches up. Instead of the God of the spirit of his God being called to be poured into his son, they call the spirit of Molech to be poured into this woman while she's giving birth. So her son is now the embodied spirit of Molech walking on earth. The pregnancy, the birth is being rushed, so it didn't completely take hold. So he's like a demigod, right? Half Molech, half man. And it messed up his face. So they had to build a crown. They had to build this mold. And it's a movie, I get it, it's a movie plot, but they had to build a mold to put around his face because his face was scarred. And you will not believe what they put on him. The face mask of a Doberman Pinscher, right? The dog star, serious? Oh man, it blew my ever loving mind. I'm like, whoa! And because they kept hiding the dude underground while his mother, the queen, she was just all out doing all this wickedness. She was became powerful, and all the other kings of the land was enslaving anybody and everybody, just killing people for fun. And finally it took a prince of a king disguised as a slave to get in and woo one of the servant girls, and then she helps overthrow the empire, right? But in the end he has to take on the mighty Molech. Oh man, it was crazy. So I'm reading the Ecliptic, I'm listening to the book, I got the PDF down so I can read along, so I can finally see what this dude's saying, and it's like, whoa. And then it just changed. I'm like, wait a minute. So all those people that want to run around 666, man, the Asiatic, the Buddhist, the Persian, they would have known that wasn't right. It was a freaking time frame. It was a window. And then what has Lex been showing us with the whole Big Dipper? Pour it out my spirit. Oh my goodness, it blew my mind. But then there's stuff in the Ecliptic that just like makes me like, oh, I can't teach this, right? Because they point out that in different lands, the Buddhist was a god for different people. For like in India, he was a high priest, but in Egypt, he was a god that was built and it was left in a temple. And he talks about how he was put aside, that no other statues were allowed in this room where the Buddha statue was. He said in Europe, Buddha is Odin. And he gives the name for the Buddhas, for the Canaanites. And for the Canaanites, he's something. But, he teaches the whole and the 4 letters of God. So there's a lot of stuff but like I said, I don't feel comfortable teaching on any of this stuff, the more I learn. But it's just bits and pieces. It's like a textbook, You highlight some stuff, you put notes on some stuff, but you don't take the whole book and you say, this is gospel,